And I'm Patty Marikovich, one of her 21 nieces and nephews, whose lives she impacted when she married Uncle Ted, and their marriage was over 60 years, and what a treat she was for all of us. So of the 21 nieces and nephews, she was predeceased by 3, by Joan and Mark and Dale. And you should know, for all of us, she really made such a positive difference in each of our lives, the lives of our spouses, our children, our grandchildren, just through that ripple effect of life that reaches out beyond everybody. That's pretty magical. And I always loved chatting with Aunt Joan. And I was left feeling inspired whether we were together or we were just talking on the phone. We often talked about our children and our grandchildren. Hers were the best grandchildren. I lost that one. That was hers. One of my favorite mantras of hers was, everyone should have an Amy and a Sari. Well, I think everyone should have an Aunt Joan and an Uncle Ted. So thank you for celebrating Aunt Joan.
Hi everybody, thank you all for being here. I hope you get through this. On behalf of my dad, my sister, John, Scott, Drew, and Emily, I really appreciate everybody coming and giving a card. We have Sari's friend Laura from U of I, who's fluent from England, our cousins from Maine, Virginia, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, longtime friends from the Berkshires, Door County.
You got this, Mom.
Door County, Seattle, our many good friends from Western Springs in Chicago, and to my parents from Champaign, Urbana. It means so much to her family that you are here. And a shout out to Julie Crossman for the fabulous invitations and the logos on the bag and the name badges. So thank you, Julie, for your talents there. My mom was a naturally gifted public speaker. I'm not, and I hope to be able to get through my remarks as I mentioned. I also need to go before Sarah, who expresses her thoughts much more eloquently. My mom's focus was first and foremost her family. Both my parents have great senses of humor. My mom's laugh would light up a room. She laughed a lot. She was always doing something creative, like making us Halloween costumes out of old curtains, sewing dresses for my sister and I, canning fruits and vegetables, making cookies, and her passion peanut clusters. My sister made over 1,200 peanut clusters. They were Please take them with you. It was a labor of love and a lot of work. And I had none of those abilities or interests. And my mom got me a sign that said I only had the kitchen because it came with the house. My sister, on the other hand, inherited all the interest and ability in all things food related and knew at age 5 she wanted to be a chef. My mom was a woman who demonstrated every day how to be a dedicated, caring, and loving mom and to have a career. She challenged the paradigms that society had of women in the 60s and 70s and for her life, methodically smashed them and moved forward. Starting as a public school teacher, she then became a financial planner and then worked at Kahara Clinic as a director in the marketing department. She and others in this room helped advance women in my generation to take the torch and pass it on to my daughter's generation, and I thank you. It is difficult to separate the traits Sarah and I inherited because my mom and dad were so much in sync, which is obviously fabulous, though they came from very different backgrounds. My mom was the only child, and my dad was first generation American, number 8 of 10 kids. Both my parents walked me down the aisle. It was an equal partnership since they met in 1959. My dad always said 1 wife, 1 dog, but because my mom's love of dogs, they had 3 over the years. Schroeder, Max Lewis, the King, and Sweet Roscoe. My mom was a planner, and she knew that there were different phases of retirement, so my parents had fabulous trips to Kenya, China, Italy, Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji, among other destinations in the first 20 years of their retirement. My mom's favorite stage was being Granny Joan, circa 1997 and 2000, and I recall her saying that a woman at work asked her what was new and specifically said, "Not about your grandkids." Every milestone the kids reached, even if minor, was excitedly celebrated by her. She documented moments large and small with photographs, many of which she turned into Shutterfly books. And my parents started taking Drew and Emily on vacations starting at age 10. New York City was always the first stop, and then every other year they were able to pick a city for one-on-one memorable trips with my parents. The last of these trips was to Iceland when Drew graduated high school. We did many fun family vacations to London, Charleston, Italy, Montreal, San Fran as the grade 8 and my mom named us. Emily was fortunate to be a U of I student like I was here, and we brought our friends over to 903 for Sunday dinners. And for both generations, my mom's table setting games, the food, and the little gifts she would give us, along with my dad's talking about news on all topics, education, politics, life, with his realistic, optimistic outlook. I will close with this. My mom was a strong supporter of public schools, the Eastern Illinois Food Bank, volunteered in a soup kitchen, was an icon as mentor for 2 U of I students, one who's here today, who came in from Ohio. She campaigned for Democratic candidates and gave donations to many other charities over her lifetime. She always said she had it better than those that needed help, and she was happy to donate her time and talents to champion others. She was loved very much and will be greatly missed. Thank you.
Okay, it's not fair you got to go first, because now I'm a mess. Okay, can I read this? Okay, well, first of all, everyone in this room is dressed in my mom's outstanding style. Like, this is a good-looking room of people. Thank you all for showering today. For those who don't know me, I'm Joan's daughter, Sari. Got it, how'd you do it? Okay, she would refer to me as probably the chef, or the one with the restaurants, and my big sister Amy as the big deal executive and the mother of her grandkids. I happen to have my glasses underneath, but I can't read the tears. Oh, it. Okay. Our mom would love seeing everyone in this room that loves her. We will toast her with memories. Some will be sweet, some will be nice, some will be funny, and some will be hopefully embarrassing. Her first date with Dad was at a diner just at the edge of campus at Edinburgh. I can never say it. It was simple and great. I know why she always loved a BLT, because that's what they shared on their first date. Who knew that one tasty sandwich would lead to 61 years of marriage, a few moves, followed by 2 daughters, 2 son-in-laws, 3 dogs, and of course, her prized 2 grandkids, Drew and Emily. Dad, you were the love of her life and still are. Mom, I wish you weren't here. Our mom married a minimalist who loved her with his everything. The way our dad always looked at our mom, smiled at her, supported her, and loved her was something that ensured Amy and I would fall in love with men just like that, and we did. I'm not sure who started it, but my mom or dad, but the 3 hand squeezes, one for I, one for love, and one for you, is our silent secret handshake as a family. I know Amy and I both do this with our families, and I think of her every time I squeeze our hand 3 times. Our mom supported us all with her everything. I always said, if I had a garbage route, she would tell everyone that mine was the cleanest on the block. That's a good one, Drew, yeah. I did have a paper route, Amy. My sister doesn't believe me. Okay. Our mom broke countless barriers and glass ceilings. I recall going to the department store with her when I was 6 or so, and she had her own job, her own checking account, her own income. She applied for a credit card in her own name, and they would not give it to her without calling my dad at work and having it in both their names. Needless to say, she and my dad told them to screw themselves and immediately left the store. We never shopped there again. Even though there weren't too many places in town for us to shop at that time. This was our mom. She didn't put up with barriers, bullshit, and always fought for those that needed a hand. Her eagerness and willingness to volunteer for so many great causes was her true passion in life outside of her grandkids. My mom was magnetic. She made an imprint on so many and was a positive influence in her community. She was on the board of the Eastern Illinois Food Bank for 16 years. By the way, between the e-guide and private donations, we're over 9,000 for the Eastern Illinois Food Bank. Go Mom! I mean, that's amazing. The Daily Bread Soup Kitchen, Doctors Without Borders, Planned Parenthood, yes. Women's Rights, WILL, Kranick Center for Performing Arts, and knocking them door to door for Obama and Biden in neighborhoods that weren't necessarily voting for them. The list of causes she supports is endless, and what they all have in common is that they are foundations that help anyone that needs helping. Okay, that was our mom. She always wanted to help, always. It was not uncommon for her to buy groceries for the person in front of her in line. She would always offer up a meal, a hug, or some clothes to anyone in need, and maybe some peanut clusters. Speaking of her saying peanut clusters, please take home a bag. She made sure that I would make them for you because her pantry at home had all the ingredients for the first 4 batches, so that's 400 peanut clusters, and enough chocolate chips for all 1,200 peanut clusters, and enough bags for like 300 bags. I only did 160 here. So she was making sure we made these for you guys today. She never gave anyone the recipes, so I decided to print it out and just get it out there. Let's see, something I want to outline here. Okay. I will say on the directions for the peanut clusters, there's a weird line about putting a kitchen towel down on the counter followed by wax paper. And I didn't do that the first round, and they all stuck to the table in the peanut and the wax paper. So it is a thing. So just follow it. Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. Suppose we have a chef. I don't know. Let's see. Mom was fun. She never drank or smoked, except for the one time Amy and I spiked her coffee with cool Kahlua. Never again. When my sister Amy announced that she was pregnant with her first Drew, email or texting or Facebook was not a thing. So the first person my mom saw was the mailman. And she told him that Amy was pregnant, and I think he thought that she was saying she was pregnant. She was so excited to become a grandmother. It was like she was going to be the very first grandmother on the planet. And I'm sure you all experienced that from her. Then when Amy was pregnant with her second, my mom was so ready to be a proud grandma times 2. And it was with Emily, a girl. Now she had it all, a Drew and an Emily. Mom never backed away from a challenge and was always open up to learning something new. She got her real estate license and a master's in education from the U of I, became a financial planner. She took spin classes and kept up with the young ones. She started organizations for women to invest, network, and grow. Took improv classes at Second City in her 70s. Performed an outstanding monologue about her life. That's what she said when she was 80. That's 3 years ago, you guys. That's like her at the Virginia Theater. For her mom's big birthdays, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, Amy and I would write a list of 50 things we loved about her or 60 things we learned. So over the years, that's 260 things that we loved and still love about her. I won't read you all 260, but here are my favorite lessons or memories. She said, how important it is to always be a good friend, how to straighten our genetically curly and frizzy hair, that women can do anything men can do and do it better, that some of the best conversations around the dinner table, that shopping all day in Chicago for the perfect prom dress and then going back to buy the very first one you tried on is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. That she always loved Dad, even though he wears sneakers to fine dining restaurants, and today. That going to the farmer's market every Saturday and filling the house with bright red gladiolas is a tradition worth keeping. Not to judge others and to be accepting of all people from all walks of life. That prejudice and discrimination only exists because of ignorant people allow it to exist. That it's okay to have the same skirt in 2 different sizes, which I have. that you need at least one hug a day, that she values friendship almost as much as family, to never borrow from your 401k. She made me start one at 21 years old. To always have health insurance. That washing your hair in the rain is not only fun, but your hair will never be softer. That she never mowed the lawn. That she mentored young women at the U of I. And thank you for coming. I don't know who came today. Oh, there you are. Oh, well, I think you're in the will. Maybe I joked about that. Okay. That she always and never let anyone tell you what you can't do. And Gloria, her best friend, told me this memory, that my mom actually drove through a bank drive-through during an actual robbery. I mean, this is our mom, right? Okay. As you all know, red was her signature color. The other day I was at the grocery store and a red Yeti mug caught my eye. I sure didn't need another Yeti mug. I have many, but I instantly put it in my cart because it made me think of her. I'm scared for the future of all things red that come across my path. I'm going to need a bigger cart. One family trip in the 1980s, we had an issue with not getting forks served along with our fettuccine alfredo in Florence, Italy. None of us could get the waiter's attention. We were all cracking up with tears running down our faces from laughing and trying to find the word fork in our English to Italian pocket dictionary. Finally, the waiter responded and brought us a few forks, but not 4. From that day forward, if anyone would say the word fork to her, she would bust out laughing with tears coming down her face. I just made her laugh to fork not too long ago. So please raise a glass to our mom and say fork. She would be laughing wherever she is. My nephew, niece, Drew and Emily, I think are going to say a few words and then we'll just let it go to complete mayhem, okay? Or are you guys, it's okay if you don't want to right now either. Okay, come on up. And please, during the meal, people who want to speak, I'm looking at you, Dolores, Cecile, Jeanette, please come up and speak at any time.
You're mandated to come up and speak, okay? Where to start with my dear Granny Joan? Just such a fabulous woman. She taught me the art of style, the art of being really into reading, literature, history. Like, she really could do it all and looked good while doing it. And I was so fortunate enough to have her, and she would take me and my sister on trips around the country, sometimes around the world, and she really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I would not have seen without her, you know, and Biba had given the initiative. I remember my first trip in New York City with Biba Ted and Granny Joan. We stayed in Times Square, which now if I told my friends who live on the East Coast that I went to Times Square, they're like, ew. I'm like, well, thank God I went there with her because now I got to say, oh, I don't want to go there anymore. I can be cool. But there's such important things to see. And she knew all of the important things to see, and they show you and expose you to the different ideas and monuments and stuff like that. And the trips didn't stop there. That was the first trip. We did Boston, and I remember we went to Provincetown to the ferry. I don't know if anyone's been to Provincetown, but it's really fun there, especially for a guy like me. So I remember there was like a whole parade going on, and some might say there was too much leather going on or not enough. And I remember stumbling into a shop, and I was like, it wasn't a liquor store. It wasn't anything. I walk upstairs and I see things I probably shouldn't have seen. They're like, you can't be here. I'm like, why? They're like, do you know what this is? I'm like, no. They're like, who are you here with? I'm like, don't worry about it. So then I immediately ran back downstairs. It was still those. Sorry. It was a sex shop. And I remember running back down the street and the parade's still going on. And me, Deepa, and Granny Joan sat down for a very nice, lovely dinner afterwards. I'm like, the calm after the storm. And then we took the ferry back to Boston. And they're like, probably like, we're not doing that yet. And then we went to San Francisco. And we took a Segway tour. And on that Segway tour... Oh, yeah. Oh, there's pictures. Oh, we had receipts. Okay. Me, Joan, and Biba Ted all got on Segways. And we were driving around up all the hills of San Francisco. And I remember beforehand, we had stopped at Starbucks, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of hungry. She's like, okay, what do you want? I was like, oh, the petite scones. You know, they come in 3. I finished 1.5, and I threw the other half out, and she goes, are you kidding me? We don't waste anything here. Meanwhile, before she had done the same thing. She had thrown out some leftovers. And I was like, Granny Joan, what are you talking about? Let's just go on the sideways. She's like, no, I'm not remember this, Andrew. I'm like, for what? And she's like, you're not getting those petite scones ever again. And I'm like, it was the one time she was ever upset with me. And God forbid, I was wasteful. And, oh, you coming up?
No, I'm going to cut you off at some point, but you can go for a second.
Oh, my sister's going to cut me off at some point, but I can still keep going. I would say our most fun trip that we ever took with Granny Joan, me and my sister and Beefhead Ted included, was Iceland. And there was, at one point when we were in Iceland, we were hiking up a glacier, and we had this tour guide. And I don't know if Granny Joan kind of stumbled or that she just wanted to do it. I have the best picture of her sitting on this guy's lap. She's like, woo! She's like, funny girl. And this is our tour guide's lap, and she's having the time of her life. And I'm like, Granny Joan, you are yummy and wild and free. I love it. I love it. But she was also just the most generous, stylish, fabulous, smartest grandma I've ever had. Oh, sorry, Grandma Mary also. Granny Joan, I miss you so much, and I think you'd be really proud of what we put on site.
Okay, I will keep this short and sweet, but for those of you that don't know me, I am Joan's favorite granddaughter. Granted, I'm her only one, but nonetheless. This woman gave me many things, many life, actually, I'll go with the clothes first. I'm going to go in order of importance to us. We love to shop. I have the shopping addiction that she had, going through her closet.
Clothes delivered.
Yeah, she still is getting clothes delivered to the house to this day. The same sweater showed up in 2 different sizes the other day. As well as 16 pints of dark chocolate sorbet on their anniversary. So I don't know what she was going to do with 16, but you know, they have it now. So problem solved. But you know, I guess I'll just wrap it up by saying this woman gave me so much, but the Sunday dinners were one of my favorite things ever when I was going to U of I. I always came back with some wisdom from Deepa and so much food and random trinkets. You know, she had every holiday, everything, she had every decoration possible. I mean, even when we went to her house the first time when she was in the hospital, it was 4th of July, a month before that, and there was little 4th of July pom-poms all over these nice sculptures, and we were looking at my grandpa and we're like, are you okay with it? He's like, take them away, please. We're like, okay, well, that makes sense. Yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, sorry, culture. Those are your statues. But yes, I'll just wrap it up by saying this room shows how much she was loved and how many people that she loved. So thank you all for being here to help us celebrate this beautiful woman, Joan. And cheers to you, Joan. You don't drink, but cheers.
I'm going to take advantage of an open mic. I just have a quick story to tell because I know that so many of you know Joan in other ways than I know Joan. My name's Gail, and she and I were shopping buddies as well as art mart buddies and Circles buddies and Biaggi's buddies. And we met about 20 years ago and met regularly for confidential lunches. And so on my name tag, I said Big Sis. I never had an older sister, and I could tell her anything, and she told me a lot too. And we kept it quiet. So one time though, I wanted to tell you a quick story about how she protected me. one day I was having lunch at Art Mart, and I knew that she and I would be meeting at noon. And at that point, I had started dating after I lost my husband, and I hadn't told her yet. And so I thought we would surprise her. And so I asked my now husband if he would just show up at Art Mart, pretend he was shopping, and she and I would be sitting and having a nice lunch, and that he would then come over and introduce himself to me and ask me if he could have my phone number. And I acted, completely startled, and we, and Joan was like, oh, and then, and we, and she looked at him, and then she looked, and I said to him, well, I don't think so. I don't know who you are. And then he said, well, let me give you my card. And so he took out a card, God knows where he got that, and put his phone number on the back. And I said, and he said, here, take this, and if you change your mind, let me know. And so I said, fine, and he walked away. And then Joan went into high protective mode. And at that point, she's like, you can't call him. What if he's waiting out there for you? What if he's going to follow you home? And so at that point I thought, okay, I'm upsetting her. And, I don't want, I thought we'd have a good laugh, but she was like digging in. And so we broke down, and Martin was actually sitting out on the side, and he came in, and we told her that it was all a joke, and she just laughed her head off. And that's all I'm going to say. I know there will be great things today. So.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm returning a little bit to the family theme. My name is Gary O'Neill, and I think, even including Ted, I have the rare distinction of having known Joan longer than anyone in this room. Right? Joan is actually my second cousin. She's my mother's cousin. And just the way the spacing went, my mother babysat Joan, and Joan babysat me for the first 2 years of my life until she went off to Edinburgh and found some other man in her life. So I've known Joan a long time, but fast forward 16 years, my wife Ellen and I moved here, we were in graduate school together. And I think we all know that one of Joan's daughters is a world-class chef, but I can tell you she may have gone to school to become educated as a chef, but she had awfully good roots starting at home. Ellen and I enjoyed some fabulous meals in the company of Joan and Ted for 4 years. I don't know if many of you knew her at that time, but I think you know the history now. That's when Carl Care was starting. HMOs were a very, very new thing. HMOs were just getting started. Carl Care was the first one here. And we went over to dinner, and Joan tells me, I'm starting a new job. I'm the first marketing person for Carl Care HMO, which I barely knew what an HMO was. Now, I knew Joan from her degree at Edinburgh. She was an elementary school educator. So I looked at Joan and said, Joan, how did you get a job as being a marketing person for an HMO? And she said, Gary, that's exactly what the hiring manager asked me. He said, Joan, what are you doing here? You don't have any of the qualifications. And I think we can all relate to this. Joan said she looked him in the eye and said, that's exactly why you should hire me. And I think it worked out for both for Joan and for Carl Care. That was Joan. What amazed me, we moved away after grad school, and what amazed me over the last few years, as her parents have passed away and you start going through the old pictures, she never missed an opportunity to send a picture of me when I was 3 years old, or my parents when, she was over visiting us. She never missed an opportunity to remember people. She was a really, really special person. And I'll close with something, and I'm sorry, Ellen, but I'm going to have to borrow something you said when I found out about Joan. And I told my wife, she thought for a moment, she said, I think Joan is the most vibrant person I ever knew. I think that's true. So,
Hi, my name is Joan Dixon, or as Joan Cernich said, the other Joan. But I don't remember not knowing Joan Cernich. She is, been a delight in all of our lives, and I'll make this very brief, and those of you who know me will be amazed at that. I thought, so probably 20 years into knowing Joan, I got on the peanut cluster list. And I thought that was pretty special, right, Pinky? Turns out, a lot of people were on that list. So, while Joan had the ability to make you all feel very special individually, you were just one of the very many special people. And for a while, for about 20 years, I was with the Community Foundation, and Joan served on our grants committee, and she was terrific because she had a great sense of humor, but she also was so intelligent. She could look at the different grant applications we would get, drilled down immediately to what they wanted, and it was needed, and then would vote on it. But one time, and I think it was when I was still at the foundation, Joan called me up and said, "Oh my God, I just saw my face on the side of a bus." And it was that picture there because they were promoting That's What She Said. I said, "Joan, it will be good. Nobody else's face would be as good on a bus." Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sharon Sims. I want to know, show of hands please, how many of you here are members of the Executive Women's Club? Great, great. I first met Joan because I was, at that time, Director of Human Resources at Cunningham Children's Home, and also, I heard okay, whoever you are, okay, we'll see if we can find you. Okay, and also I was president of the Central Illinois Human Resources Group. We were on, we identified members of the Executive Women's Club. How many of you went on the bus trip to Chicago to see Wicked? Is there anybody else here? Oh, all right, great. Okay, so I'm sitting a seat behind Joan on that bus trip, and she said, "Well, what are you going to do for the couple of hours we have to spend?" And I said, "Oh, Joan, I just don't feel like shopping today." And she said, "How about a pedicure?" And I said, "Joan, how am I going to get an appointment for a pedicure in Chicago now?" And she said, "No problem." She whips out her phone. "I have an appointment for a pedicure 2 blocks from the theater for a pedicure that very moment." And that is part of Joan. She was a force to be reckoned with. When a problem was to be solved, Joan knew how to solve it, and it was a wonderful day. That is always how I will remember Joan, though. It was, don't ever present to me a problem, present to me a solution. And that was our dear beloved Joan. She will always be in my heart. And I have to tell you, I got a pedicure just in her honor. Thank you, Jim.
Hi everybody, I'm Andrea. I'm one of her She Said sisters, with these other sisters here. So we were in the show with her, Queen and I. And it's a quick story, but Joan used to still come in and support, so I owned us a flower shop in town, and Joan made a point to continue to come in and to support me and buy flowers and buy jewelry and buy all the things. And I know that it was just from the goodness of her heart because she wanted to continue to support She Sold Sisters. But the favorite part of my story is that my staff every time would be like, "Joan's coming, Joan's coming." I have all these young girls, and every one of them would say, like when she would leave, we would all just have this collective sigh, and all of them would always say, "I just want to be Joan when I grow up." And I felt that, getting to know her through, She Said, who doesn't just want to be Joan when you grow up, right? I still want to be Joan. And I just love that my whole staff always said that. Can't we just be Joan when we grow up? So cheers to Joan.
Hi, my name's Anne Riley. I've been friends with Siri and Amy since our days at Alpacai's back in Champaign. And I just wanted to say that I've always felt that Joan was my kindred spirit. So from one kindergarten teacher to the other, thank you so much, Joan, for your use of your Cookie Monster costume in the 90s that I brought to my kindergarten class, and then I went trick-or-treating in it after that. And I mean, honestly, a force to be reckoned with. I've heard before. Loved her so much, and thank you so much for raising two amazing girls, one of which... I'm so happy to caught one of her best.
Oh, man. No, you're supposed to cry. I'm Scott. I'm Sari's husband. There's that old song about, you marry the person and you marry the family, you marry the in-laws. Well, I definitely won the in-laws lottery here. Joan and Ted have been so amazing to me from day one. One of the things that I fell in love with about my wife was her take no prisoners, no is not an answer attitude. She truly is a force, as is Amy. You think Joan was a force? Try dealing with Amy. So it didn't take me that long to realize that they both got it from Joan and from Ted. Joan, even though she never drank or smoked or did anything untowards except shop too much, some of the scarves still had tags on it today, people. She loved the party, and she would have loved this party so much. Peanut clusters, a shopping boutique, portraits of her, a microphone. She would be in heaven right now, if she's not already. So thank you all for coming and loving Joan the way you did, and for showing up today. This reminds me of that old line from the movie The Big Chill. What an odd tradition. They throw an amazing party for you on one day they know you can't come. Joan would have laughed at that. And she had a great laugh. And I'm going to miss it.
Hi everybody, I'm Jeanette Jerzik. I had the incredible honor of working with Joan on That's What She Said. But I first met Joan through the Executive Club of Champaign County. I was serving on the board as the program chair, and Joan reached out to me to invite me out to coffee because she had kept a folder of all of these past programs and calendars and newsletters from the organization, and she did not want them to get lost, and so she wanted to hand them down to me so that I could keep the legacy of the organization. So I got to have coffee with her, and in one short meeting I was so enamored by her company that I invited her to be a speaker, and That's What She Said. And her initial reaction was, me? No, I don't have a story to tell. And we all know that's not true. In fact, she came to our first rehearsal story development session with a binder full of journal entries that she had kept her whole life. Pages and pages and pages of her just documenting her thoughts and her ideas and her experiences. And it was like she said, gold. It was phenomenal. But we had a really hard time narrowing down exactly what she was going to share on the stage. As she said, how do I put 80 years into 8 minutes? And of course, all she wanted to talk about was her daughters and her husband and her family and all these wonderful people that she was so grateful for. And once we got that out of the way, we said, okay, now let's talk about you, because that's the whole point of That's What She Said, is to give women a chance to talk about themselves. And so when she finally did take ownership of that, the story that she got to share on the stage was nothing short of amazing. But more than just the performance, the journey of going through that process with Joan and the women that shared the stage with her was just so incredibly special. And the stories that I got to hear that didn't make it to the stage just made me fall in love with her so much more. Joan is an incredibly special woman. In fact, we put her on the poster, we put her on the bus. She let us, so thank you, Joan. But I will forever be grateful that she got to be a part of that experience with all of us.
Hi everyone. I'm Taylor Clay. I actually flew in here from Seattle Thursday. We're actually Friday morning. I've never been layovers. I never fly into Dallas. I haven't flown into Champaign since I flew out 4 years ago, 2 months after my She-Said show, almost exactly. But I did it for Joan because I know she'd do it for me. There are so many stories that I could share from that experience, as these women can attest to. But the one thing that I always go back to is her shoe game. I am jealous of those shoes that she was wearing in that photo. I have dreams about those very shoes. I could never wear them in my life. But the one thing she always told me is at the time my son was 2 and a half, and it was rough. I was using my wheelchair pretty much all the time, and he was completely able-bodied and could outrun me. And every night, whether these women know it or not, she would talk to me and go, "You're a good mom. Keep doing it." So to see someone that's 8 years old raised 2 amazing women and had an amazing life, tell you at 27, 28, you're a kick-ass mom. And then to learn all her stories, I just hope that in my 80 years, I can have that life job. So, here's the Joan.
So Dolores is a Republican and a Catholic.
Yes.
If you knew my mom, it's kind of funny that I said that.
Yeah. Well, first about the Republican thing. Sarah didn't tell you she had an 82 had a big party for Joan on her 70th. Do you remember? And the lessons or the list at that party was 70 things you don't know about Joan. Okay, and that's where I came in, my husband and me. I mean, amid all the wonderful things that you didn't know about Joan, you didn't know that she had 2 Republican friends. And then, at my 80th birthday, Joan came, of course, to that. It was a big thing my kids gave for my husband and me. And she stood up and she said something about, "Am I the only Democrat in this room?" and I don't know if you know the Pavillas. I'm sure they wouldn't mind using her name. Joan B. Pavilla jumped up and says, "No, Joan, you're not alone." And so there were 3 of you all there. So, well, listen, I'm Joan's best friend. And I know that even when I say that, there are all of you saying, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm Joan's best friend. I was Joan's best friend." Well, I need to tell you that I have proof. I have this card. Joan and I never sent cards to each other that we didn't tweet. Every card was tweeted. We changed the wording. We put on pictures of ourselves that we would take and cut out and put in the card. I was an art major for 5 minutes in college, so I sometimes drew the cards.
You gotta keep this one secret.
Let me help you. I'll hold it for you.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh.
We put it on here.
Oh, okay. Hold it still. I heard, right? Hold it still. Okay. Anyway, this was a card Joe sent to me. And it says, "How do you find out you're old? First, fall down.
If people laugh, you're young. If people panic, you're old. This is the card. You can't see it. I'm not going to pass it around because I treasure it. It says, Dear Dee, if we fall down, we can help each other up and away. And she always said that, up and away. And she never just said up, it was always up and away. And then she said, have a happy, healthy birthday. Your BFF. It's here, it's BFF. And there's a whole story to that. Now, I want to just comment on the card, on the pictures. So, this picture was taken at the back of St. John's Church on campus the day that Amy married John. Do you remember, Amy? Do you remember this picture? Oh, so good. Okay. Joan and I are holding Amy's train. Now, whose idea was that? For Joan and I to get behind and hold Joan's or Amy's train. Now, what I want to know from you, because, you know, my brain's going and push it on. I am 86, so I just had a birthday. We did not carry this train down the aisle, did we? No? Okay. Just want to be sure. All right, well, that's it. You can see this.
Just love you, Dolores.
I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done.
She asked for where the came, and all I could think of vaudeville, right?
That's right. No, I was teasing you.
Okay. Two things about Joan. Joan was a giver. You know she was. Many of you have many things that she gave you. This necklace that I'm wearing, Joan gave this to me. Joan found excuses for giving me things. I think she created on holidays for me. And she gave me all this stuff. She even gave me a sweater that was too big for her mother. And I got it, and I took it, and then she said, you know, it's so easy to give you things. You just take anything. I said, hey, Joe, I'm a social worker at Catholic Charities. I'm one of your poor friends, okay? So, but she gave so much. She hardly ever asked for anything in return. But I'm going to tell you about two things that she asked for. She called me one day, and she was whispering on the phone. She said, Dee, would you go with me to see, I can't think of his name, Barry Manilow. Would you go with me to see Barry Manilow? I said, what's friends? Why me? And she said, nobody else likes Barry Manilow. You're the only one I know who would like Barry Manilow. So I was thrilled. I liked Barry Manilow. So I went with her to see Barry Manilow. At the end of Barry Manilow, it was wonderful, by the way, for you non-believers. At the end of Barry Manilow, he invited everybody up on the stage to do a dance. Before I could pace my rear end to the chair, she had me grasped in my arm, in her arm, and was pulling me up the stairs, up the aisle, going up the aisle, being dragged by Joan. So I look ahead and I see the stairs that go up the stage, and I go, I don't even worry about getting on the stage. I won't get up those stairs. Because I have arthritis pretty bad and even had it way, way back then. So, but no, she dragged me up those stairs, and before you know it, I was in a conga line on the stage with Barry Manilow, being held by Joan, and that laughter. I could hardly say that without wanting to cry. Because when she laughed, and you all know, you were in her presence, when she laughed and really howled, she laughed, and she had such a wonderful time. Second thing she asked me to do, really embarrassed. she asked me to take her mother to bingo. Annie was there. Annie and I took Vicki Rogers to bingo. Now, what's so funny is that I was raised on bingo. I mean, I'm Italian. My mother took me to bingo when I was 8 years old. I mean, I was going to bingo. When I would come home from college, my mother would say, come on, go to bingo with me. We can talk. I said, how can I go to bingo with you? You take up 2 spaces, the perimeter around your 50 cards, have all those saints that are bubble cards. And, you know, I mean, that's how it was with me. And I loved bingo. I don't know how many times I went to bingo with Vicki Rogers, but I loved it. And for Joan, that I did her a big favor. Also going to the nursing home and having lunch with Vicki and Joan. I mean, these were just ordinary things that she thought were incredible that I did for her. One more thing. I mean, as time went on, I mean, I'd known Joan, well, when I first met, I'm not going to progress to the story, but I first met Joan when Amy was 4 years old. So how old does that make our relationship? How many? Long time. A long time. And
54 years.
How old?
54 years.
54 years. And we met at St. Matthew's just briefly. We met at St. Matthew's, and our first project together was to start and run the nursery at St. Matthew's. And we were so good at that, the priest, Father, can't think of his name. Father, who? Father Feeney, thank you. Bill Feeney of the Penfield Feenies. And anyway, Bill Feeney was thrilled to have these 2 women who had never met before, had no idea about the other. That's how we met. We got together, we ran the nursery. And then we ran this little paper that was just for women, and it was called We Women. And Joan kept saying, let's change the title from We, W-E, to We, W-E-E. Joan thought We Women would be a cute title for our little paper for women at St. Matthew's. But it was just one of the little pranks. Anyway, fast forward. Many dinners, wonderful. Just going everywhere, just doing, I mean, the thing that of friendship that you do. About 20-some years ago, in my family, we lost a 20-month-old grandson. It was devastating. Anybody who has lost a child or a grandchild, I don't have to say anything more. You know exactly what that is. He had played at Meadowbrook Park. He had ice cream. He was delightful. It was a beautiful April day. He was only 20 months old when he died. Just didn't wake up. As I said, our family was devastated. But we did everything we were supposed to do as good gathered people. We had the visitation. We had the open coffin. All of his little cousins were playing around the coffin, talking to him, because they knew that Sam was in heaven and that someday they would all die and meet him and play with him again. That's what they were told, and they truly believed it. In fact, Sam's older brother, Eric, came over to me because I was in line, greeting everybody, and he pulled down my dress and he said, "Grandma, I wish I were you." And I said, "Why is that, Eric?" He said, "Well, you're the oldest person in our family, so you're going to be the first one to die. And you'll be the first one to see Sam." Well, with that, really lost it. If you've been to Owens, you go behind the curtain, too. cry my heart out. And my son was there. There's Sam's dad. And he was on his knees and he was crying. So that gives you an idea of how that day went. When it was over, all my family and I just gathered. We just pulled ourselves together and we went to my house. I don't know what we were going to do, just kind of sit there and be quiet. Anyway, I still remember walking into my house, and here's your Joan story. It's the Joan story.
Wrap it up on a funny one. You're making me cry.
It's worth crying. Crying is good. Anyway, this is joyful. We walked into the dining room, and there was the most lavish meal you can imagine on our dining room table.
Oh, she made it.
The table was separated. If any of you had dinner at Joan's house, you know how she set her table. Candles, photo lamps, anything she could find, she could make beautiful in the center of that table. That was my best friend. That was what she did. One more thing, and it's not a story. I was an English major, okay. So we remember things, we learn things, we memorize things, and so I have a lot of poetry I can memorize and bore you with, but what I'm going to tell you, it's a refrain from a song from the 70s. And that kind of leaves most of you out, I know, because I don't know how many people are that old to remember James Taylor.
I love James Taylor.
This is his best song, and I'm only going to speak
Dolores,
the refrain. I'm just going to speak the refrain. You all know this song. Oh, I've seen fire, and I've seen rain. I've seen lonely days. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely days that I thought would never end, but I always thought I'd see you. Good.
Mic drop. Well, I wanted, we've got some other people here, but you're the best. I'm making this one proud.
Hi, my name's Lynn Jones. I honestly can't quite remember when I did know Joan, but I just quickly wanted to, a couple of things. Joan was, and I know lots of you here are members of Executive Club. Joan was a driving force in Executive Club, a past president, and really brought a lot of us on board to get involved. And I don't know that there was another person who was so supportive of professional women. And I'm guessing that lots of you experienced that in different ways. She was a lot of times kind of behind the scenes, getting a hold of you, setting up a lunch date, calling, and really, really being supportive. Joan and I were sitting next to each other at an Executive Club meeting, I don't know, gosh, it's probably been 5 years ago now, maybe longer. And the speaker was on target for young working women. And Joan said, we don't, this is not, we're not really having to worry about HR issues anymore. We're not really having to worry about how to motivate staff. Maybe we should have a special interest group for Executive Club members who have retired. And I said, Joan, that's an incredible idea. And so she started working on it right away. And I got an email one day and she said,
You know, we're not going to call this a retirement group. I mean, doesn't that just sound disgusting? We are going to be the rewirement group. We are cool women who are rewiring. And, you know, without Joan and her creativity, we would probably, this group meets once a month. It has been a very, it's just been a great experience for all of us who are rewired. And Thursday was our regular monthly meeting, and usually we have a topic, but we decided to ignore that. And Thursday we just all shared our Joan stories, and it was amazing in that everyone had a story about something Joan had done for them, about something she had supported, and I think Joan was often behind the scenes in quiet ways, but really making a tremendous impact for all of us. So here's to Joan.
And then you are next in line. I love that there's a lineup of people waiting to speak. We may need a bouncer, but this is Cecile Steinberg, one of my mom's longest years spent. Oh, it says best friend, I better clarify.
Yeah, I'm the Jewish Democratic best friend. The quiet one. And thanks to my friendship with Joan, I have gotten involved in all of the wonderful community activities that you're hearing about today. But it was her impetus that got me into the executive, into the retirement, into the group that's raising money for Carl through the Women's Legacy Council. And I probably would have been there in my heart, but I don't know that I would have moved to get there. I met Joan at Carl. I came as a young employee in the hospital marketing department. She was in the clinic department. And we kind of looked at each other askance because we didn't know if we were going to be competitive as we reached out to doctors and providers around the region or not. But it turned out we ended up being best friends. And it went on forever, and it was a wonderful way to begin. One of the events I remember is the two of us had to lead a legacy. We had to give a talk. We had to both do a talk at some leadership meeting at the Carl Institute. We were both very stressed because we wanted to look smart, of course. She wanted to look gorgeous, and off it went. And the two of us got together, and it was over, and we were okay. And we ran out together, and we ran to, I forgot where the place is where you get hot fudge sundaes. And no, it wasn't the Courier. It was the hamburger place. Anyway, whatever it was, we sat down, and she inhaled a hot fudge sundae. And it was like this moment of relaxation. It was just great. Well, the years went on, and I tried to learn some of her fashion techniques. Went to Chicago, looked and we went. The other thing that the two of us enjoyed thoroughly was food. I loved to cook. She loved to cook. I always enjoyed it. She made it glamorous as well as good. And we were trying sometimes with some of the groups here to introduce our wonderful friends to those restaurants in Chicago where they really knew how to cook. And I remember that we enjoyed taking people up there and trying the different restaurants up there. And it was loads of fun. As time went on, I guess I have to come to the little bittersweet one. My husband got sick, and I still remember that she came to my house for dinner. It was my anniversary, and she and Ted brought dinner to to my house for the anniversary dinner. And my husband died a few days later. And I never forgot how thankful I was to have her there at that time. So, thank you, everybody.
And Al and your husband love my mom and my father so much, just as you, Lucille.
Now, I still remember Sarah's wedding. Sarah's wonderful wedding at the Chicago Zoo. And I remember when we got to the extreme moment and the ring wasn't available. And, oh yeah.
My husband forgot the wedding ring.
And all of a sudden, Joan jumps up and hands her a ring, hands him a ring to use at the wedding. So that was Joan.
It was perfect.
Hello everyone, I'm Trina Wright Gibson, and I say that because I met Joan Zernich through Joan Dixon when I worked at the Community Foundation. And as she mentioned, Joan was one of the most wonderful women to work on the grants committee. It was my first time working with Joan Zernich, and we had gone to a place to really examine and survey and say, okay, do they deserve this money? And by the end of this observation, I realized that I just fell in love with this woman. And so we had lunch, monthly or weekly, whenever we could. But specifically when I was listening to the Rewiring Group talk about professional development, I can tell you that one of the things I learned about Joan is she knew that I was really trying to make my way as a professor at the University of Illinois. And she constantly sent me motivations and encouragement. But specifically, it was her love, or my love of her, knowing that I loved to scrapbook. But she would send cards with whatever pictures that would be my face in the cards. Or clearly she loved giving me the Christmas card that talked about her family. And so I just know that what I remember about Joan was her fashion, her love of family, her laughter, but it was either Biaggi's or Sunsinger. But we would have our regular lunch dates to chat about ways in which we could take over the world as women. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Heidi and I'm one of Siri's best friends. I put on my name tag BFF #1. However, I was not her backup in case she couldn't read her speech, so I don't know about that. One of the things I shared with Siri recently was when she was getting married at her shower, her mother shared a very beautiful speech, and one of the things in the speech was, I almost named you Joy because you bring me so much joy. And Siri brings me so much joy. And I feel like that is Joan's legacy, you know? I feel like I met Siri my sophomore year of college, maybe freshman year, because of a mutual friend who's from Urbana. And I just remember as we got into our friendship, there was someone who came up into our world and she didn't like this person. I think it was a guy. And I said, if she doesn't like this guy, there is something seriously wrong with him. Because she is like the best person I know. You know? So like if someone doesn't like someone who is like an amazing person, I'm like, I don't like him either, you know? I mean, it's the truth, really. And I think some of the reasons why I love Siri so much is because of Joan, you know? Dolores, I'm a Democrat and a Catholic, okay?
It's great.
So, Siri and I don't have everything in common, which is fine, right? And I love that Siri is super, super duper non-judgmental, as am I, you know? And I feel like that came from who you come from, right? Everyone is important in this world. It doesn't matter your beliefs. it's really how you treat other people. And I love in Joan's talk that she said, be kind, it doesn't cost you anything. Volunteer. I'm a huge volunteer, and some people are like, why do you do that? I love that. So if you don't volunteer, volunteer. Do it for Joan, okay? And then I look at Amy, who I think is just so impressive, so smart, and her with Sari have done things that women didn't do back in the day, and it's because Joan really paved the way. And I love that she would have bragged about Sari being a garbage collector if she could. It's true. It is so true. I'm not sure if you really got the paper on the doorstep, though. No offense. Maybe you did. Maybe you did. Joan and Ted were always so welcoming to Sari and her friends. I've been at their house many, many a times, my family included, and I'm just glad we can be here celebrating Joan, and it's like she's all welcomed us into her final moments, unfortunately. Thank you.
I hope Joan, of course, is listening today as we all kind of wait too long to express our thoughts and love with our friends, family. Her friendship is a great gift to us. And my important part of Joan, she shared her family. This is Ruth and Bill. She gave us. I'll hide my face.
I can't read it.
She shared her family with us and gave us the extended family and helped and advised and guided into the motherhood, which, as a young mom, it feels Joan in my heart. As a mother.
She really trained me way above a normal to be a mother. And it works. She's perfect. Oscar's perfect. I think Joan and Ted really guided us. When we came here, we were like, little kids or whatever, Bill and I, and we had an extended family. Yeah, and it worked. I have perfect kids, and a lot of it is Joan and Ted. I mean, Joan gave us advice and me advice, and she was over the top. You actually know, you mentioned about her Halloween costumes, her over the top with the kids, and she told me kind of, and taught me how to be that perfect mother. And I was lucky to have two great kids. And as Ted always said, these are the best years of our lives. And they were. Here in Illinois. It did take me 27 years to get out. But we were lucky to have them as our friends. But when we left, we moved to Miami, and it was really tough. We lost that support system. And it's the only reason that I like Illinois. The Zernishes.
Your aunts and uncles.
Anyways, I just wanted to say that, so much about Joan. It was the circle of women and friends, and I noticed there's so many women here, and, a lot of you probably say, I want to come up, and I was like, I had to come up because there are women in our lives that is maybe a small part, but they're all part of us growing up. I don't know, Billy, want to say anything? Oh wait, I gotta say one other thing. Hold on. those hallmarks, those cards, someone else said that. I keep thinking of that investment club. Joan had to have investment in Hallmark cards.
True.
Our whole life, we have gotten so many cards from her. I actually started an album. I kept them all. But I don't know, her investment club, they must have encouraged her for Hallmark. But I love her cards. I will miss her cards so much, even if they're belated by 2 months, they always came.
Thank you. And Joan was just the epitome of generosity and love. She didn't break your heart, but she told you when your heart was going the wrong direction. And Ted too. Ted and Joan were certainly a guiding light and a moral compass.
We fell apart in Miami without them.
We corrupted in Miami.
Corrupted by Miami. We should have stayed in Illinois.
I would say this was always Uncle Billy and Aunt Annie, and then Ruthie and Oscar were our like cousins, or definitely, we used to babysit you, but you guys introduced us to the White Castle hamburger. You bring it frozen. I know, you're bad influences, but we love you. Yeah, exactly. You get all the praise. Thank you guys, love you.